Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the weekly edition of the MMA Insiders here on DonBest.com. This week, I'm in Allen, Texas, here for Legacy Fighting Championships. Down there in Costa Rica, as always, well, most always, is Nick Kalikas. Nick, are you ready to go? This week for you has got to be oxygen tanks and pots of coffee because it's so much stuff going on for you.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy with 2 UFC events, legacy fights, as you just mentioned, also Bellator this weekend, and then coming off a busy week last week. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
It's been really difficult, and we're only going to cover the two main events this week just because there's so much going on. We're going to cover the two main events for the UFC, coming off a great job of doing the UFC on Fox card they just had, and now they're getting ready for the two TUF finales. For those of you that don't know, they had Smashes, which is TUF in Australia. That fight, the finale, is going off December 14th, which is Friday night. It's Ross Pearson versus Josh Sotiropoulos. Pearson MMA record 13-6, 3 wins via KO. Noble wins Dennis Sheaver and Spencer Fisher. Sotiropoulos MMA record 14-4, 8 wins via sub. Noble wins include Kurt Pellegrino and Joe Lauzon. I'm going with Ross Pearson on this one, but I don't think he's the favorite. Is that true?
Yeah, actually, Sotiropoulos is the favorite. Slight home edge here, minus 135 right now, plus 05 on Pearson. The general public early on has been coming in on Ross Pearson. I think they're coming in the right way here, only because where Sotiropoulos is kind of at this point in his career. I mean, he got knocked out in his last fight. The fight before that, he did get rocked by Seaver as well. That's what cost him the fight there. I think Pearson's a better striker on the feet. I think Sotiropoulos, though, is the better fighter overall, but he's going to have to get this fight to the floor and try to work his submission game here. I think he's going to struggle in 5 rounds, and Ross is probably going to get the opportunity to catch him here.
You know, I really think Ross has gotten better at his takedown defense. And, keep it on his feet as much as he can because you all know if George gets to the ground, he's going to have to do nothing, no offense at all, but be protective of his head, neck, and shoulders because George is going to keep hunting for that head, keep looking for that neck. If he gets a hold of one of your shoulders, he can either slide into a triangle, he's going to slide into an armbar, or even worse, he's so flexible now, he gets in that Umaplata game that you can't really get out of. He's got to protect himself, get back to his feet. But if Ross does just that, he will pick him apart on his feet. We've all seen George fall apart when he gets hit. I think we're in the same kind of situation. And even though the betting public is going with George, I really like Ross in this one. Nick does too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the bet you got to lay this weekend, is laying just a little bit of money on Ross Pearson because he's the dog. It's the money value. I really believe that this is the guy that's ready to go. And let's not forget, this is Australia versus England. It's the old penal colony for England. It was what Australia became now in its own country. It's this whole game. They still play with each other. Ross going to have a lot of heat coming on him from the English being behind him, ready to push him. Plus, Ross does better when he's in foreign territory getting booed, which is what's going to happen when he walks in the Queensland Convention Center against George Sotiropoulos.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's going to be a great fight, though. It should be a fight that the fans will enjoy for as long as it lasts. I don't see it going 5 rounds there, but I definitely think there's some value in Pearson. You might want to hop on it now because, like I said, the direction the line's been going, Pearson's slightly been decreasing in value, but I do expect some action to come back in on George Sotiropoulos from the general betting public and some bigger bettors as well.
All right, moving on to the Ultimate Fighter 16 finale. This one is on Saturday night, like the normal UFCs are here in North America. FX, Field TV, Fox, and Facebook. What a great job they did on Fox. They're now coming with us back-to-back TUF shows. This is going to be a great weekend of fighting for anybody with all the events going off. But let's not forget that Shane Carwin got hurt. He was supposed to compete against Roy Nelson. Matt Mitrione stepped up, made the phone call. Just like Liz Carmouche did with Ronda Rousey for the first female fight on for the UFC. It goes, I'm telling all the fighters out there, somebody gets hurt in your weight class, make a phone call to Joe Silva. Get in there right away because that's how Matt Mitrione did it. He said, I want to come in. I want to fight this guy. Mitrione, MMA record 5-1, 4 wins via KO. He beat Kimbo Slice and Joey Beltran. Nelson, MMA record 17-7. And for having such a great black belt and storied black belt history in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he's got 10 wins via KO. He doesn't submit anybody. He knocks them out. He beat Stefan Struve and Krokop, which you all know is Mirko Filipic. Obviously, Nelson's going to be the favorite in this one, but if Mitrione is in shape, I'm leaning towards him too. Am I going to be in trouble here leaning towards 2 underdogs?
I don't think so, man. It's hard to lay the juice on the other side of who we're talking about against Ross Pearson, we were just talking about. Now also against Mitrione. I think Roy Nelson's one of those guys. He's a very well-rounded fighter, as you mentioned, but he's always been a little bit overrated. You know what? I hate to say it. No disrespect to him or any of the heavyweights, but he's ranked in the top 10, top 15, somewhere around there. A lot of sites, only because of the lack of the heavyweight division. It kind of sucks still, man. I mean, I know it's getting a little bit deeper. It's getting more competitive a little bit, but I think Roy Nelson's at a spot where he's a little bit overrated. The public thinks he's some great fighter, which he's really not. He's just solid. He is hard to stop. and he does have power in his fist for sure. Like we just said, he's well-rounded, but I think Mitrione's going to have the advantages here actually standing. He doesn't have the experience edge. He's only got 6 fights. But I think that on the feet, he's going to do enough damage to Roy Nelson, and he's going to be so hard for Nelson to adapt. He's going to look for the takedowns. They might not come as easy, and I expect Mitrione to probably pull this fight off.
I interviewed Mitrione for MMA Oddsbreaker a couple days ago, and Mitrione told me that he wants to go out there and knock him out with one punch, but he knows that's not going to happen. Frank Mir versus Roy Nelson. Dana White was so upset with Frank Mir by the way that fight went. He thought it was the most boring heavyweight fight he's ever seen. He yelled at Frank for a month after that before he realized you just can't put Roy Nelson away. Frank Mir hit him with every knee, every punch, every kick, took him down, passed his guard, and still couldn't put him away. Mitrione understands that's how it's going to be in this 5-round fight. It's going to be a position where he has to get Roy tired, get him beat up, get him hurt. You have to pick him apart with a jab, hit him with a couple of rights, a couple of hooks, keep him moving, keep him unconscious and understanding where the fight is going, but push him to a pace where he's not going to be able to maintain. If Mitrione can stop this fight, how do you think he's going to be able to stop it?
Well, I think maybe as the fight goes on, Roy might have success a little bit early on, but as the fight goes on, I think he's going to start slowing down. He showed that in his last few fights. In round 2 and round 3, he's not really the same fighter. He looks faded, and if Mitrione starts stepping it up and putting more strikes on him, maybe even up against the cage, landing some knees, and kind of trying to bully him around, I think Mitrione's going to probably end up finishing him. Even though Nelson is a hard guy to stop, I think it's possible here in a 5-round fight.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Both of us are taking the underdogs in this one. And rightfully so. This is the weekend if you want to make a little bit extra money. Christmas is coming up. Go ahead and bet a little bit of extra juice. I'm going to actually bet double my bet that I normally do. I usually bet a certain amount of money every week on these fights. I'm going to double it because I think both these underdogs can allow me a little bit extra Christmas money to get me through the holiday season.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And especially with some value, you might put a 2-team parlay together with both dogs as well. Most places will allow you to do that. Something small. Now, the possibilities are going to be a little bit less that you hit both, but if they do hit, it's going to be a nice little gift.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Nick Kalikas down in San Jose, Costa Rica. I'm Frank Trigg this week in Allen, Texas. This is DonBest.com. We'll talk to you soon.